All right, so you want to find a mold remediator, but they all suck. That's the problem, right? They don't all suck. There are some out there that are pretty good, but you got to find them. You have to ask the right questions in a sneaky way. That way you can weed out the bad ones. So we're going to go through a list of the 5 questions that you want to ask your mold remediator when you're inquiring about some services. Okay, the first question you want to ask is, what kind of certifications do you have? This is a great question because this kind of gives you an understanding of what their fundamental knowledge is, where their training came from, and what kind of standards they follow. Now, I'm going to give you a disclaimer. Just because they have a good certification doesn't mean that they are good. This is just kind of a filter to allow you to weed out some of the really nasty ones, but there are always going to be some bad eggs in a good basket, right? So keep this in mind. This is what you want to listen out for. You want to find someone that's certified with the IICRC or the ACAC. Now, these are 2 nationally recognized certifications, and the IICRC, for example, created the National Mold Remediation Standard. So obviously, you'd want to find somebody that's certified by the IICRC. Now, just because they're not certified by the IICRC doesn't mean that they're bad by any means, but at least tells you that they've been through training to follow the nationally recognized standard. So what are some red flag answers to look out for? Well, keep in mind that most states do not require a license to perform mold-related services. That means anybody can come in your house and remove mold out of your house, and the state does not regulate who can or who cannot do this. I know, it's crazy. So with that being said, if you're in one of those states, which is most of them, that means that someone can just be a chef yesterday and say, you know what, I think I want to remove mold, and wake up the next day and become a mold remediator. And they're going to go online and try to find some training, or they're going to maybe go to a 4-hour class in person and do some training. And if they give you a certification like,
oh, I'm with the AAF2R,
and it's some crazy stuff you never heard of, go look it up and see, what is this place? Is it nationally recognized? Is it ANSI approved? Whatever the case may be, to see, is this a legitimate large corporation, or can you even find it? The second red flag that I'll say is not having certifications at all. Now, I kind of cringe when I say that, right? Because I don't think that you need a certification to be a good practitioner of whatever you do, but it does at least vet people. And the honest truth is, you're conducting business with someone that you just don't know, right? They're coming in your house and doing these major things, right? Things that can affect your health, your finances, the longevity of your building, and all of these things that are super stressful, and that could be pretty detrimental if it's done wrong. So having some sort of backup on what's going on with their certifications, with their credentials, is really important. Question number 2, what does the remediation process look like? Can you walk me through it? That's a very open-ended question, and that allows them to open up and kind of give you everything that they know and everything that they do in their process. Do not ask yes or no questions, because you're going to pigeonhole them into an answer that you want. So for example, you don't want to say,
do you do containment?
They're going to say, yeah.
Do you do negative pressure?
Yeah. Right? No, what does your process look like? What do you do? What's the step-by-step, right? Give it to me. I've never done remediation before. What does the beginning to end process look like? Well, we're going to set up containment. We're going to wear PPE. We're going to remove the source. We're going to establish this. We're going to whatever, right? Let them go through the process. And what does that look like? Now, I'm going to put a guide from Change the Air Foundation in the description below that kind of walks you through what it actually does look like, so you can kind of connect the dots with what they're saying and what you're reading. It's an excellent short guide that's really going to help you out, but you don't want to miss this question. So what are some red flags to look out for? How about,
oh, we just fog the house, and we just spray the house, and we fog your ductwork, and we sanitize the place?
Okay, you want to be careful with this one. Mold remediation is all about source removal. You want to find the source, you want to remove the source, because the source is what's producing the spores, it's what's producing the contamination, right? Change the Air Foundation has an excellent analogy on this when they talk about it being a factory, right? The factory that's producing the smog and the pollutant, right? If you just try to put an air catcher in there and try to get rid of the fog and the smog, it's not going to help. You have to get rid of the factory that's producing those contaminants. So is the mold remediator actually removing the contaminant, and are they doing it safely with containment, with negative air pressure if needed? Those types of things are what you're looking out for. You want to make sure that they have a clear process. A red flag would be them not having a clear process, or not being able to articulate their process very well, which means maybe they don't have a whole lot of experience following those standards that need to be followed. So question number 3, and this is probably my favorite question. What is the biggest mistake you see in mold remediation? Asking a mold remediator this question is really going to reveal their passion about the industry. And you want someone that's super passionate, right? Have you ever worked with anyone that's really passionate about their industry? It's almost infectious, and you know that they want to get the job done right. You know they're continuing to learn. You know they're going to make sure that you're taken care of. Having that passion is just a huge driving force for me when I'm trying to work with somebody. This is such a twist question, kind of catches them off guard, and there's going to be a little bit of honesty on what they think about the industry. So some of the green flags would be things like, oh my God, people don't set up containment, it's really annoying. People don't know how to stop cross-contamination, they don't use negative air when it should, or maybe they're fogging too much, or maybe they overcharge and they try to, get you with all this fear mongering, or maybe they don't know how to deal with sensitized clients. All these to me are green flags on, seeing someone that wants work to be done properly. All right, so what are some red flags? What about?
Mistakes? I don't know, the job's pretty straightforward, really.
Okay, that really shows there's not a lot of passion in what they're doing, kind of lackluster, and if they're not taking it seriously like that, I mean, what are the chances they're going to take your house seriously? And I'm sorry, buddy, my kids live here, I live here, I want to make sure we're healthy, right? So next, what about something like,
oh man, everybody in this industry takes mold so seriously. They don't realize you could just spray it down. It's not that big of a deal. Mold's not even harmful if it's dead. And, why do you need containment? There's mold outside, right? There's no problem.
Okay, so those types of vibes are kind of what you're looking for to say, maybe I shouldn't have this person in my house doing lots of expensive work. So question number 4, and this is going to be kind of a trick question for them. You're going to be a little sneaky snake on this one, okay? So you're going to ask, what kind of product do you use to kill the mold? This is a trick question because mold remediators are not there to kill mold. They are there to remove mold. Imagine you have drywall with mold on it, 4 feet high, just covered in mold, and someone comes in just to spray it with a disinfectant. That mold is still there. Dead mold is still allergenic. Dead mold is still toxigenic. It's still a health risk. Imagine that you have an oak tree growing in your front yard and you're just sneezing your butt off with all the oak pollen. You say, well, I'm just going to cut it down. And you cut it down and it lands in your front yard. Are those allergens gone? No, they're still there, right? So the allergens and toxins still exist. That's why the best course of action in this metaphor is to cut the drywall out and remove it from the environment. So when you ask a remediator a question like this, it does 2 things. 1, it gives you an idea of how they actually handle the process. But 2, it gives you an idea of what kind of educator and what kind of teacher they are. If they actually stopped and say, well, actually, the way that we do things is we remove mold and this is why this is important. You want to have somebody that's going to be your kind of remediation Sherpa, if you will, walking you through the process as they're doing the remediation. So that way you're not lost along the way. You don't want them to just completely lead the project and you're just walking behind them blindly. You want to understand what's going on in your home. So having a heart of a teacher is really important. And so this kind of tests both those things. So what's a red flag?
Oh, well, we go in there and we use Sanitizer 8000 and it does real good. And then we encapsulate over it with some white paint.
Okay, that's not really good, right? They're not removing the source. So that's one of the things you want to really be careful with, someone that just really heavily relies on disinfectants and fogging. Not to say those aren't good products, right? They have their place in remediation. They just don't replace source removal, right? And on the kind of red flaggy thing of disinfectants, you want to make sure that they're using mild disinfectants. Maybe non-toxic, maybe botanical disinfectants. Something that's not going to replace one toxin with another. We're not in the industry to take out mold toxins and replace it with chemical toxins, right? So trying to understand what they're using in the house, because if you're dealing with a large scale remediation, especially if they're coming in to clean all your contents, I mean, think about that. What you're eating on the dining room table, what your kids are playing with, do you really want them wiping every single one of those things down with toxic chemicals? No, thank you. So trying to find someone that uses and understands non-toxic methods for remediation is huge, and this is a good question to ask to see if they are right for the job. And question number 5, how do I verify that the job was done right? This is a great question to ask because what it does is it opens up the conversation about working with a third-party assessor. I don't care how good the remediators are, there's no such thing as a perfect remediator and everybody makes mistakes. So, what are some green flags that you're looking for here? Well, they should introduce you to the idea of getting a third-party mold inspector to come out and check their work. They should encourage it, in fact, because it's only going to help both of you guys, right? It's going to tighten up their work, reduce their liability, and it's going to help you guys make sure that you're coming back to a safe home. So what does it look like for a third-party assessor to come in? Well, they're going to come in, they're going to make sure that everything's dry, containment was set up properly, there's no chance of cross-contamination, and if so, they'll check for it. They're going to make sure that cleaning process was done properly. They're taking air samples. They're going to make sure air quality is back to normal, whatever the case may be. And if there's a problem with that, you want to kind of part B of this. You want to ask, do you actually have a warranty for if the job fails? What do you guys do if the job fails by a third party, right? Do you honor that? So these are great questions to ask. Now, what are some red flags?
Oh, we just tested ourselves. Or, oh, if you just walk in and you smell it, you know it's clean. Or it doesn't really need testing.
All of those things are red flags that you want to watch out for. Well, there you have it. That's 5 questions you can ask your remediator. Again, Change the Air Foundation has an awesome guide on this. They go into detail about some of the things I talked about, plus more. So I really recommend you checking out their article down there and saving it for when you're ready to find a remediator. Good luck.